A few days ago, there was an interview on the news with a physician who was using ultrasound to treat addiction. Evidently, this physician had experienced enough success to justify applying for and receiving a federal grant to investigate the use of ultrasound as a treatment for addiction. The provider then went on to state that this proved that addiction was a medical disease, a medical problem that could be treated. A friend of mine asked me what I thought about that interview. So let's discuss my response, shall we? First thing I want to say is it's ridiculously easy to qualify for a grant to do study and research. It's not hard at all. It's not an accomplishment. So for a physician to say he's had enough success to justify a research grant really isn't saying very much at all. So keep that in mind. Secondly, I do emphatically believe that addiction can be treated. The entire premise behind my books, the YouTube channel, these videos, everything is that addiction is a condition that can be treated. That every treatment, however, depends first on them wanting to get clean. There's no treatment method or modality that overrides their free moral agency, that countermands their desire to get clean. What you doing, buddy? So there's nothing that overrides that, but there are things that we can do. That's a premise for these books. Third, it is possible, in fact, I very much hope, that ultrasound will one day prove to be an effective treatment adjunct, an addition to treatment. Personally, I hold very little hope that it will become a treatment in its own right, but definitely a treatment adjunct. The only way we learn about the effectiveness of these things is to research them, so we should continue to research them. But it would be irresponsible to recommend them as a treatment until after their effectiveness is proven. It's like flying to some far-off country to do experimental herbal medicines in the hopes of getting clean. Yes, we should continue to research herbal preparations. Yes, we should continue to research chemical and medical concoctions for a treatment cure. But until the effectiveness is proven, they have to remain experimental and, at best, probably an adjunct. Does that make sense? What I am trained in, what I teach, what I believe in is the holistic model. And this is a perfect case where the strengths of the holistic model show through. In the holistic model, we take all of the best of the biological medical model, the psychological model, the sociological model, the spiritual model. We take all the best and we keep that. Those things that are not proven but might be effective, such as ultrasound, such as some of the herbal preparations, we hold those very loosely, very tentatively, very Could be. Let's do some research and find out. Let's not throw anything out until we've proven or disproven it. But at the same time, once it is disproven, the holistic model mercilessly throws out anything disproven. So anything of the medical model that was disproven, we jettison under the holistic model. Anything that might be, like ultrasound, okay, let's check it out. Anything that's proven, yeah, let's wholeheartedly embrace that. But we do it for each of the models. Think of it like this. It's kind of like shopping in the produce store. When I go shopping for apples, some stores may hate me, I go through and I pick the best apples. Those best apples that I want, they go into my shopping cart. The ones that are so-so, I set aside. I don't want them. Someone else might, but I don't want them. Those that are rotten, if there's a garbage can, I throw them in the garbage can. If there's not, I tell the produce manager, this one here is rotten. Where I have a significant problem with the interview is that throughout the interview, the provider insisted that this research proved that addiction is a medical issue. Not really. One, that just reveals his own bias. Two, you have to realize that there are multiple models of addiction. The medical model, the biological model, the psychological model, the sociological model, the spiritual model, the holistic model. In order for this provider to say this is a medical model, he has to disprove any involvement from the psychological model, any involvement from the sociological model, any involvement from the spiritual model, any involvement from the biological model, any involvement from the holistic model. If this is a medical problem, he has to disprove the influence of all of the other models. Maybe it'll make more sense if we take a look at a different disease process. Let's look at diabetes. Diabetes is clearly a medical problem, correct? Well, not really, because here's what we know about diabetes. I've got two friends, and this is true. I have two friends with diabetes. One is in his 90s, the other is in his middle 60s. You would think they were in different positions. The 90-year-old acts like a 60-year-old, the 60-year-old acts like a 90-year-old. In fact, the 90-year-old recently told me that he's going to have to quit mountain climbing because he's getting too old. He's in his mid-90s. The 60-year-old, he will probably, honestly, sadly, be dead in the next 2 to 3 months of old age. So we know that how you think about diabetes influences the course of the disease. How you act, the people that you interact with. My 90-year-old friend surrounds himself with other people much younger than him who are into mountain climbing, who still go out and do stuff. My 60-year-old friend pretty much isolates by himself. So we know that has an effect. We know that if you get in shape and exercise, that's going to affect it. And we know spiritually how you internalize it is going to affect it. My 60-year-old friend is dying of diabetes. My 90-year-old friend is an energetic man who just happens to have diabetes as one of his issues. Completely different situation. But all those impact the course of diabetes. So for this guy to say that this proves diabetes is a medical problem, he has to disprove all those influences. Or he has to admit that it is an adjunct in the treatment, along with all of the other models. Does that make sense?